Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Season 4, activating awareness, well-being, intimacy, and self-mastery. I'm your host, Washayla Sananda, and today I have a returning guest, Suzanne Gerber. Welcome, Suzanne.
It's such an honor to be here with you, Washayla. Thank you.
Well, I always love our conversations. So please join me in this getting present meditation. I think I need it more than anyone else today. So let's begin by closing our eyes and tune in to the breath, bringing the breath through the heart and into the belly. And as you're breathing, find yourself present in your body, finding your presence wherever you're feeling yourself anchored in your body, just noticing what you're feeling, and just being aware of yourself in this moment. And as you're breathing, bring your awareness into your heart center, feeling your heartbeat. And now get in touch with the light that is in your heart. And feel your heart light glowing and growing out around your chest. And now bring that heart light up to the crown of your head and extending all the way up above the head into the heart of the central sun. This is the source of divine light of our universe. And just make contact with the heart of the central sun and bring that warmth and divine light energy down through the ethers into the crown of your head, moving down your spine into your heart, and continuing down to the base of the spine, and then continuing all the way down into the center of the earth, and now making contact with the heart of the Mother Earth, the heart light of Gaia, feeling that nurturing, loving, divine feminine energy, and bring that energy up through the layers of the earth, like liquid crystal plasma coming up through roots into the base of your spine, up the spine, and now moving into the heart center, joining with the light from above and the light within you, and expanding out in this trinity of light, birthing the presence of the divine child within, bringing you curiosity and focus and presence and playfulness and a new level of joy, so that you may truly receive whatever is for your highest good in this conversation today. And with that, come on back to full awareness, full presence, being in your body. Go ahead and open your eyes. And now I will introduce a little bit about Suzanne. Suzanne Gerber is a classically trained intuitive astrologer, energy healer, and spiritual life coach with 35 years experience. She is a master interpreter of the divine code of your birth chart and uses it to guide you to healthy, loving relationships, rewarding work, and fulfilling your soul's mission. And I love our conversations around astrology, Suzanne, and how you really bring like some of these very high concepts to make sense to anyone. You don't have to be an astrologer to really understand the way that you share. And it's, even though you're traditionally trained, you have this really expansive way of sharing astrology in a way that it's not set in stone. It's not like you're stuck with this and this means this and nothing else. So would you share a little bit about the way you do astrology?
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction and that beautiful meditation. I loved that, connecting to the sun and expanding the joy. And I just think that's something that's so important to remember when we get caught up in the everyday life and the challenges and some of the negative things that we're presented with. And that really aligns with the way I like to do astrology, which is very choice and very free will based. Now, we are who we are. You know, we have some limitations over what we can create and manifest, but I think we believe more in our limitations and our abilities. What I love to do with the chart is blow that all open. And I love your tagline. I love your tagline for all your summits. And this one really spoke to me because it's exactly the principles that I think are so important with opening up or activating your chart, because it starts with awareness. And I'll probably be saying this more times than we want to hear in this conversation. If we're not aware, we can't take action. If we're acting, you know, out of fear or desire or delusion, that's not awareness. And what do we want? Well, we want our well-being, because if we're not healthy, that's going to focus our thoughts and limit us. So we want to be healthy. We want well-being, and well-being, of course, is on many levels. Intimacy, I think most of us desire, and self-mastery. And I feel like they all kind of work together. Awareness, and this is my understanding, the way I like to work with astrology. First, you have to have awareness. You have to have awareness of yourself. If we didn't have the charts, we'd still be us, we'd still have our lives. Astrology is just this really nifty tool. I think of it as a psychic MRI. It's just a way to see who we are, what we came in with, what perhaps our soul intention is. And I like to think that we all have one, and that many of us are really waking up to the fact that it's not just about acquiring things and getting our needs and our wishes met, but it's really about understanding that inside of this body is a soul, and the soul has its own intention. And we might think we're going after what's in our best interest, but if our soul path is something different, we're never going to really feel happy, whole, connected. Intimacy will be hard. It's really about bringing these things into alignment or coherence. That's when I feel like we really maximize all of our manifesting potential. And what you were saying about how my way of working with astrology has evolved over the decades, and it really has been that long. Astrology is this exquisite gift from the divine. I mean, it's beyond human. It's not just some little thing that somebody scribbled on the back of a napkin once. I mean, this is essential truth. But the way humans interpret it is always going to be a reflection of the humans, of their generation, of the zeitgeist, of the levels of their consciousness and how far they've expanded. Life was simpler back in the day. Life has become more and more complex and evolved, and, you know, your work, multidimensional. So many people now are really waking up to the fact that they're not just these three-dimensional beings that wake up, go to work, punch a clock, eat the food. It's so much more. And astrology is one of the many, there's so many great tools. Astrology, I feel like, really has the potential to show us clues about how we can make the most of what this soul came in with, the challenges from the past, the opportunities that we've set up for ourselves in this lifetime, and how we can activate them through the way the planets in the sky activate things from our birth chart. The more I work with people around the world, the more I connect with people walking a very spiritual path. It's not enough to know, will I get the job? Will I fall in love? Will I stay in love? Things like that. Of course, we want to know those things, but people really want to talk about their soul's intention and their life mission. And astrology, because of the way it shows us these indications of the past, kind of clearly when you buy into the principles, but we never think we're stuck with, you know, oh, I did something bad in another life, so I'm being punished in this life. That's not what karma is. Karma is just a flow. It's just cause and effect. And there's no right, no wrong. There's your choice. And the more our consciousness evolves, the more compassionate choices we make. We're willing to make personal sacrifices for greater good. That's a very Aquarian age way of being in the world. And more people are waking up to that. How can I reach my highest purpose? How do I figure out what it is? And how do I stop living this kind of petty hamster wheel lifetime? And I feel like the more we work with the deeper multidimensional levels of the symbols, because the planets, yeah, there really are planets, but what we work with in the astrology chart is their symbolic power. And when we work with that and understand it on that deeper level, we can, I feel like, just exponentially increase the level that we're working on. I'll take a breath.
Yes, to all of that. You know, as you were speaking, I was thinking about how, you know, we can relate the multidimensionality of our birth charts to, for instance, you know, I've met people that say, you know, well, so what sign are you? And I'm like, oh, they're into astrology. Well, I'm a Cancer, and, you know, my rising is this, and, you know, like start to talk about something. They're like, wait, what does that mean? And your moon and your rising? Like, oh, you just want to know my sun sign. Okay, well, so that's like base level, like the thing you read in the magazine or the newspaper, or, you know, then that's your sun sign. So just the multidimensionality as you expand your awareness. And it's like, oh, there's a rising and a moon. And then you're like, oh, and there are houses. And then there are like all of these other things that Suzanne knows about that I'm like like barely a novice in. And so that is how awareness works, right? We expand, we open, we learn more, and then we have more information, and we learn about nodes or something like that. And then there's more information, and it's all a universe. Every single section of it is like a universe of understanding. And I love how you relate all of this to archetypes and ways of being, and how using astrology is really, you've called it a tool for ascension, which I absolutely love. So would you share about how, why astrology, and how is astrology a tool? There's so many tools, right? There's so many tools, even on this summit, so many different possibilities, but why astrology?
Why astrology? It's such a great question. First of all, it's been used for thousands of years, and it's gone throughout history. People see the night sky. It just feels very meaningful. People feel very connected to it. The moon, which is so close, just really seems to, many people feel like the moon speaks to them. You know, I think a lot of people are very tuned into lunar cycles because that's so visible. But people love looking up at the night sky. I have always done that, and I think it's human nature to go, I wonder what that might mean. I wonder if that holds any clues to our place in the universe. The hugeness of our solar system, of our galaxy, of the universe, of the multiverse, really imply there's so much more than this. And I think humans, not all humans, but as we start to wake up, which awareness, first step of that whole evolutionary process, is there's more than me. There's more than my ego. That's the baby in us, you know, the baby that finds its thumb, finds its toes, finds its mother, goes through life. It starts with me, and then it starts to expand and develop relationships. And you know, a human has its natural evolutions, but so does the soul. And that goes through different levels of awareness. And we all see this if we stop and just think about the people in our lives, from our teachers and, you know, the people that we really respect and kind of put on a pedestal, to the people that just like tick us off on a daily basis, you know, like the coworker seems to undermine us, or the, you know, passive aggressive partner or whatever. And we really recognize it. And whether or not we ever codify it, I think it's really helpful to think, now this is highly simplistic, and I really don't put people in buckets, because everybody is just truly their unique snowflake self. But it's still helpful to think about things in these categories. You tell me I'm an analyzer, and that is how I do approach these things. It's my moon in Virgo, mea culpa. But I think of charts, and this is kind of the key to understanding, and also not just understanding, because you can understand something and say, oh shoot, I'm operating on a low level. No, that awareness is always what's going to bump us up. It's what gives us entree to the next level. Those 3 levels are kind of living on just a plot level, just a plot line level, taking things at face value. This means this. This person did something to upset me. I'm going to get back at them, or I'm going to ignore them, right? It's very tit for tat. It's very immediate, and there's no awareness that there might be other dimensions to just that interaction or whatever happens to you. You get in an accident and you get really mad, and then you get angry, and then you won't heal, and then you turn into a victim, and you let that rule your life. That's a plot level. And a lot of people go through that level of existence. They don't have awareness that there's other ways of being. They grow up in a very, very tight, restrictive community or family or religion or culture. And it's not even safe to think beyond that. We don't judge these people. We might be these people. We might go in and out of the different levels. We really don't want to judge. The next level, which I feel like so many people that we know, probably people listening right now, it's a more adaptive level. We don't only want to live on that level. I mean, we do because we're human, but we learn how to stop ourselves and go, wait, hang on. Maybe I'm not a victim. Maybe things aren't happening to me, but for me. Maybe there's an opportunity here. Maybe instead of getting mad at somebody, I feel whole enough and secure enough to not take it personally. It's probably the biggest thing to get us out of that plot level. Not take it personally and go, hey, what did I do? How can we work this out? A little bit more collaborative, a little less me-centric. I mean, this is the level of psychology and emotional intelligence and negotiation between people, understanding that there's other ways instead of just like picking up a weapon, or which could be our words. And then what I think is the goal for so many people, I'm sure, you know, the people that you work with and are in touch with, the people that come to me for readings or to study, it's really more of an aspirational level. It's a soul level. It's where we remember. And it's hard to keep this memory at all times because we're always pulled, something's always pulling us back into 3-dimensional reality, right? Bills, deadlines, problems, computer failure. I mean, we're always getting pulled back into 3D reality, but we don't have to stay here. It's the quicker that we can go, oh, hey, I'm back in the dream. I'm back on the wheel. I want to come back up to the soul level. But this is where the highest choice comes into play. This is where the soul is really starting to evolve and go, oh, I get it. I'm free to play. I get to use even what I used to call my challenging situations, my problems, my conflict with that partner or that child or that boss. And I get to stop and get my ego out of the action, because that's really what's always going to pull us back down. Get the ego out of the action and go, what might, like on the premise that this is happening for my soul evolution, what might the opportunity be here? And when we can stop resisting, stop taking it personally, get that low ego out, and just let our soul interact with it. This is a very magic moment of activation where we kind of find ourselves at a crossroads. I remember getting rear-ended by a guy right here in town. I was parked at a light and he hit me. You know, kind of a respectable looking guy in a Prius. You know, I figured this is a good person, right? He spaced out, he didn't hit the brake in time. And I realized, and he didn't do the right thing when I followed up. And that's what put me at a crossroads. And I thought, I can go after him and I can track him down and I can do this. And that would have kept me in a very low vibration. That was my choice. Maybe I could have gotten some money, I don't know. But that would have meant that my mindset would have been in this negative, angry, resentful, vengeful state. Or I could say, I've spaced out. I've done silly things. He didn't do this to me personally. I'm going to move on. I'm truly going to forgive him and send him a lot of positive energy when he's driving, so this doesn't happen again. And what did I do? I changed my whole mindset. And that is what astrology gives us the awareness to do. By starting to see our planets and the signs that they're in, and like you said, the houses, that's the areas of life, the stages that the action gets played out on, if the planets are the actors. And the signs are kind of the costumes and the drama and the way we act it out. The houses are the stage where it happens, the set, if you will, when the action moves from one set to another. And we, as we become more and more aware of the possibilities, we get to be the director, the writer, the producer, the cinematographer, everything. So that's a short, not short, response to how we can start to work with things with choice.
Yeah. Okay. I loved all of that. Yeah. You know, I really like the analogy of a play and, you know, the houses being the set and like all of the different actors, and we get to be the director. So, and the producer, right? So that's a little bit, I think, where maybe, and so much of what you said was beautiful. I don't want to skip over any of it, because yes, evolution, you know, and I love how you handled that and realized, you know, what you focus on, you get more of. We all know that, right? So if you'd focused your attention on, I'm angry at this guy and he's not doing the right thing, and he was, you know, whatever, he did this to me, victimized, right? Then you're stuck in that. That's bringing you down. So how can we always look for the way to ascend, to bring up our energy across the board, you know, everywhere, all the time? And it doesn't mean we never get upset. It means we recover and see, okay, you know, let's move up now. I can release that. So, you know, and I would love to explore and unpack a little bit more, because there is this idea of, like, karma, of being at effect of the chart, the planets, the, you know, all of these things that are having an influence. How do I get to be the director in that? How do I get to produce what I want out of that? Because isn't it just the way it is? I was born on this day and at this time, at this place, and here's my chart. So explain how do we get to be the director of our chart then?
It all starts with desire. It starts with the understanding, and this also ties awareness back in. It starts with an understanding or an awareness that I'm not happy. I want more. I want to live differently. I want to live a happier, I don't want to be angry. A lot of people kind of wake up one day or go through some process and they go, man, I didn't realize I'm so angry, you know, or that, wow, I fall into this victim pattern or something like that, or I'm really critical and no one's ever good enough for me. So instead of saying, wow, people are really bad, you know, people really fall short, to recognize it's all coming from here. So once we have that awareness, we start to, well, separate from astrology, we start to do things in our real lives, right? We maybe get into therapy of some kind. We get into couples counseling. We start to do spiritual work. We find spiritual teachers. We listen to guided meditations, because it's really hard to meditate on your own when you're getting started. It's much easier if somebody's guiding you, even if it's just through following your breath or the many TM or the many styles of meditation. We do it through breath work. We do it through body somatic work. We do it through plant medicine. We do it through spending time in nature. All of it's going to be unique to us, but we start to do something to shift, to move that needle. Because if we just keep going the way we're going, it's not going to change on its own. That change has to come from within us. And we need to have that moment. Unfortunately, for many people, it takes something, let's call it a quote unquote crisis, to get them to a heart attack, a loss, a divorce, something happens that pulls the rug out from under them. It's really wonderful if it doesn't have to come to that. And we were listening to our guides and our angels saying, there's another way. You can live a higher, happier, more connected life. So it comes from our own awareness, and then it comes from our own initiative. And then we do things in real life. Now, if we want to use astrology as a very, very unique purview into what's going on inside of me, what's happening in my psyche. You go to a psychologist, a traditionally trained person, and they're going to diagnose you. They're going to figure out what's wrong with you. They're going to come up with a treatment plan for you. They're going to treat you like a broken thing that needs to be fixed. Now, there's a lot of very humanitarian and humanistic styles of therapy that don't look at it that way, but that's a traditional model. When we use astrology, especially this kind of evolved astrology, to see people as just whole. This is what I've come in as. I've come in to work on these things. Maybe I have a personality disorder. Maybe I have a quote unquote handicap, learning disability. It doesn't even matter what the thing is. It's how you've come in. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You've come in to work on these unique things. I was just reading a really interesting quote the other day from somebody who works with trauma healing, who said, maybe there's nothing wrong with the people that have trauma. Maybe trauma is a perfectly normal way to adjust. Well, not trauma, but when we have trauma and the way we work through it, and it kind of informs our experience of the world. Maybe it's the world, maybe it's our society, maybe it's a lot of our systems that are problematic, not the individuals who are only reacting the best way they can. We gain awareness, and our charts really have a unique ability to do it. But I would also caution people that it's like Googling your medical symptoms. You go into a chart, you start kind of grabbing things a la carte from this software or this website, and you're going to try to piece together an arm over here, a leg over here, and it could come out looking like a Picasso painting. It doesn't integrate things into a whole. This is why it's really useful to work with a professional astrologer, also somebody who's worked with a lot of people and understand human nature and have a somewhat philosophical and spiritual view of the world, that really what you're trying to do is navigate your unique path. So it's through this awareness and starting to use the planets as guides, as symbols. And we can walk through the charts, if, not the charts, through the planets and kind of talk about the different ways that you can use them. But like you were alluding to, it's so much more than just your sun is in Cancer, right? Your rising sign is Pisces. It's so much more than that. It's how do they support each other? How might they be a little bit at odds at each other? And if they're at odds at each other, is that a problem? No, it's an opportunity to integrate these different qualities and come up with something that's even greater, right? They say the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? Yeah. And that's how we work with a chart. We want to find the whole, and then we want to give people things to aspire to. Like in your chart, people go, look, I've got this problem. I've got this afflicted moon. I've got this thing in fall, and all these negative sounding words, because that's the traditional paradigm. I just think it means here's an opportunity to work a little harder. There is an understanding that people that come in with more, and again, I'm going to go quote unquote afflictions in their chart. They've come in to say, I want to do more work. I want to evolve faster. I want to reach a higher level. It's like anything, when you come in at a higher level, whether it's an athletic competition or an academic thing, you choose to come in at a higher level, you're going to be held to higher standards, but the rewards and the gains are going to be exponentially higher. And that's the way I like to look at the opportunities in the chart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of you taking us on that, like kind of the journey through the planets so that we can understand what they mean. A lot of people are not even familiar with that aspect of astrology.
Can I use your chart as a guide?
Yes, absolutely. And just so people know, I've been working with Suzanne for years. She's been working with my chart, and we're friends. We live in the same town, Sarasota, Florida. Yep, everyone knows how old I am now.
Yeah.
Not that it was ever a secret, but
you're at such a beautiful age because you're going through a right around age 50. We have a cycle, and this is one of those activation cycles. I'm kind of jumping a little bit farther into more advanced kind of astrology, which is how the transits in the sky, which means the actual planets in the sky, how their positions are making certain angles to the planets and certain other things in our natal charts. The planets in the sky activate certain natal things in our chart, and you're at age 50, little before, little after. We all go through this. This is one of the generational cycles. Chiron is not a planet. He's a comet, but he functions like a planet because he has a regular orbit around the sun. And he rules both our wounds, the things we've come in to work on, the areas where we can grow. You know, as Rooney said, the wounds are where the light comes in. And at age 50, Chiron completes his orbit and gives us an opportunity to really do a very deep dive into those wounds. And when we are working on them and become healed or whole, we become kind of uniquely qualified to work with people on that vibrational level. It's a very special gift, but we have to get out of the I'm wounded to I understand this vibration and I know I can uniquely help other people. And here's yours. And it's in Aries, the sign of Aries. This is Chiron. It's a little circle with what looks like the letter K on top of it. And people can find it in their chart. And for you, in 1971, and for a few years before and a few years after, Chiron was in Aries like it is now. And this is an opportunity to become whole within yourself, within your power, within your self-authorized Aries quality, because even though you don't have any Aries in your chart, you are a Cancer, you have Pisces rising, you have a Capricorn moon. Many people out there won't have Aries at all. But if you have Chiron in Aries, it means that part of your growth opportunities are through self-empowerment and putting yourself out there without being apologetic, worrying what other people say. It doesn't mean you get to steamroll over people or ignore them. It just simply means that you get included in this. And you understand that if the old oxygen mask analogy, right? If you don't put yours on and let yourself breathe, you're not going to be able to be of service to other people. This in the chart, and different softwares are going to render the planets a little differently, but this is recognizable. The sun looks like a bullseye, like a target. It's a circle with a dot. It's going to be somewhere in the wheel. That's the sun, that's your ego. That's the leader of team you. This is, it could be on the lowest level, the lowest expression of every sign, every planet, everything. They all have a spectrum of possibilities, like a menu. And this is where your choice comes in. You can choose to play it out on that low level. You can be acting out of your shadow. Every sign and every planet has it. The sun could be very ego obsessed and narcissistic and needing a lot of attention. Or it can shine its own light and put its own voice out into the cosmic choir and be you. Shine for yourself. Your sun is in Cancer in the 5th house. Now, we're not here to interpret charts, but this can mean many things. This could mean you're an artist because the 5th house is art. This could just be your creativity. This could be you who loves love and loves romance. And because it's Cancer and it's the 5th house, it's very hard not to think of this as a mom. Someone who's a very big part of your identity comes from being a mom. And that is you. Your children are the most important things in your life. And it shows with your sun in Leo. The next thing we look at is the moon, and it looks like a little crescent moon. You'll find it somewhere in your chart. Yours is here in Capricorn. The moon like everything else, has that full spectrum of possibilities. It can be moody and needy and depressed and the lower kinds of emotions, or it can be your desires and your attractions and the part of you that draws you to the right other people, the right work. And it's the part of you that can really offer love unconditionally. Mercury, which is yours, is right here. It's a circle with like a little semicircle on top of it and a cross underneath it. Mercury is about communication and ideas. Mercury's lower shadow expression could be gossipy and fickle and unreliable, or it can be a great communicator. It can bring people together. It can inspire people and offer hope. It can help problem solve, especially when groups of people collectively are dealing with challenges. Mercury will be the one that will lead us through it because it can be objective and not emotional. And we could go through all of them. I don't know if I should. Should I quickly go through the rest of the planets and their possibilities, their high and low?
I'm finding it interesting, and everybody has the planets. So I think it's relatable for anyone listening what the planets mean. So sure.
I don't want to get lost in the weeds here. Venus is, I'm going in order of how we work with the planets. Venus is probably one of the more familiar glyphs or symbols to people. It's what we think of representing female, right? And it's a circle on top of a cross. And Venus on its lowest level can be kind of addicted to possessions and appearances. It can be superficial. It can be indulgent. It can just want to lie around and, you know, eat chocolate and pet the cat and be with their partner and get a little lazy and a little complacent. Venus, as it evolves and expresses its highest self, is our values and our highest kind of love, our love for people that doesn't have strings attached. It truly loves and honors and values them. It also, like the sun, it can represent self-love, which is really fundamental to any other kind of love. So we want to get an understanding of how she's acting in our chart and how we can kind of bump her up to higher levels. Mars is the next planet that we work with, and Mars in your chart is here, very significant in your chart. Mars is the symbol that is the masculine energy. It's a circle with kind of a sideways going arrow. And that sideways going arrow represents Mars's action and energy and passion. Mars on the lower level, the shadow side of Mars, is about power and control and competition and war and taking control over other people to advance your own agenda. And on the highest level, Mars rallies people and inspires people and it motivates people. And it says, we can all do this. When there's a status quo that's very oppressive or problematic or dangerous, Mars is the one. Mars brings the energy and the courage to topple it. Uranus is, jumping ahead, Uranus is the actual planet that will bring about the revolution. Mars brings the courage to take the action. Jupiter is the next one out in the solar system. And Jupiter kind of, this is yours right here. And people can look for that in their own chart if they're seeing this video. Jupiter kind of looks like the number 4, you know, like a kind of stylistic number 4. Jupiter on the lowest level can be kind of greedy and selfish and never be satisfied. I need more money, more food, more opportunities, more power, more. It doesn't know when it's sated or has enough fulfilled. Jupiter on the highest level, it's Jupiter, it's Zeus, it's the king of the gods. It's about wisdom and truth-telling and justice and very high education and playing fair. It's a beautiful, beautiful energy, but you see how different it can be if it's playing out the low level of just me versus I'm a magnanimous, I'm an enlightened ruler. The next planet out is Saturn, and here's yours, Washela. kind of, if you can use your imagination, looks like the letter 5, the number 5. It's a cross with, really, it looks like half a heart. It's half a circle. These are all squares and circles. And Saturn gets a really bad rap. People think of Saturn as, you know, the drill sergeant or the taskmaster. Why? Because we don't always want to step up and do our work. We want to take the easy way out. Saturn doesn't want that. Saturn wants to bring us mastery. So Saturn can be the way it can come out on the lower vibrations, the shadow, guilt and fear and shame and doubt. It's really heavy. You can see why people are scared of Saturn. But then when we're walking our walk and really moving into our soul's intention, Saturn is our best friend, because Saturn is just going to be like the support in our back. You know, if you have to brace a plant when it's growing, Saturn will give you structure. Saturn will give you support. Saturn will teach you mastery. If it's not quite good enough to meet your intentions, Saturn will ask you, invite you to do it again and bring you this kind of dispassionate wisdom and mastery. And when we talk about how do we manifest, how do we bring our charts into their highest level of expression, it takes work. And that's Saturn's job. I personally have come to love Saturn. Many people think I'm crazy, but I think you hear why I think it's so important. Now, this would be a good point to look at Chiron. He's commonly called the wounded healer. I don't like that language because it seems to emphasize the wounds instead of the opportunity to do our sacred healing work. And that's what Chiron is. Chiron on the lower form is the wound. It is the problem. And it can bring back all those triggers. It can trigger us. When that Chiron gets triggered, we can lose it. We can drop right out of that high, you know, transcendental level right into low ego, defending, angry, tit for tat kind of thinking. Chiron at its highest is the healer. It is the part of us that just knows what we have to offer. It's like when we do Reiki, we're not doing Reiki, we become a channel for this universal healing energy. And that's what Chiron is. It's sort of like a pipeline from the divine through us. And we want to let it work with us. Then we move into what we call the modern planets, the outer planets. Chiron is kind of the bridge. In fact, sometimes it's called the rainbow bridge. The next planet out is Uranus, or Uranus, depending on how you learn to pronounce it. Here it is in your chart, Washela. Everybody born, well, you have it in Libra. Almost all of the Gen Xers will have it alongside of Pluto in Virgo. And together, those planets are the agents of change, which can be really scary if you like being stuck and you'd rather stay with the devil you know than take risks and break out of your comfort zone. Now, Uranus, I was saying before that Mars gives us the courage to take the action. Uranus is the action. Uranus is the rebel, the revolutionary, the disruptor, or a great phrase that I came upon recently, the enlightening bolt. And depending on whether you think change is exciting or scary, you may be afraid and resistant to it. You may, or on a shadow level, you just might be rebellious. You might just have a contrarian personality. Someone says the sky is blue and you go, not really, it's kind of cloudy. I think it's more lavender. I mean, it's just, you just have to rebel. On the highest level, Gandhi, who rebelled against an oppressive system, people who find a way to do it, Silicon Valley and the whole digital revolution, that's very Uranian, because it's also about technology and waking up to higher levels. It's also divine insight that comes in. You just get this idea. Where did that come from? That is Uranus operating at its highest frequency. And then Neptune is, sometimes it's the furthest out planet because Pluto's and its orbits are not exactly perfect and they'll kind of change places. This is Neptune here. He's the god of the sea, and that's why he looks like a trident. You can see there like a pitchfork. and you look for something that looks like this in your chart, he's slow moving. It takes 14 years to get through a sign. So many people will have them in the same sign when they're within 14 years of each other of age. But where he falls in your chart and what planets he touches are going to have a very strong influence on you and what opportunities are available to you. I think Neptune might really represent that spectrum the most dramatically, because the shadow of Neptune is delusion and what we call mental illness and fantasy and escape and addiction. But on its highest level, and when so many times we know, we see this in the same person, especially when people overcome those very things like addiction and some kind of mental imbalances, they can become the greatest healers, the greatest mystics, beautiful poets and artists, healers, or in recovery programs. They're the ones that really know how to hold space for other people because they know the pain of being in that lower vibration of it. Mm-hmm. Neptune's tricky, and Neptune can really slide up and down because it's fog and it's hard to have clarity. Neptune really forces us to surrender, really get into our trust and really surrender to something higher. And then Pluto is generally the furthest out planet. There's two ways to see Pluto in your chart. One, I think of it as sort of like an egg, an egg cup holder, like a little circle, like a little half circle with a circle in it on a cross. It can also look like the letter P with an L at the bottom, like P with a foot. Pluto moves very slowly, but it's very powerful. It's very karmic. It represents your soul, and it represents your pathway to transformation. And it's a heavy, heavy, heavy one. It's the modern ruler of Scorpio. And if you know Scorpio energy, you know the kind of powerful phoenix-like transformation that's available here. Its shadow, it's because it's born out of fear, it's control, it's manipulation, it's power, it's sorcery. On its highest expression, it's shamanism, it's working with the divine elements, it's personal transformation through really your own will and using sometimes more magical or, ascension tools, because it's really not of this level. There's even planets beyond Pluto that not that many people are working with, but there's more and more research into them. And what I've come to understand without getting into any of them, they're called Eris, which you might know. You have Eris right here with your Chiron, which is about being a warrior for soul intention, which is just so beautiful and powerful in your chart. We all have her somewhere. There's other planets like Make, and there's even a new one called Gong Gong, named for a Chinese deity, that these have to do with how to live in a world that's not the old world. Like Eris is about really standing up for soul intention, being a warrior in the best possible way. Gong Gong, as I learned from an astrologer on my own last summit, is really about understanding that there's just simply chaotic forces in the universe. We can't control them. We can't retreat. We shouldn't retreat from them. So we learn how to work with Gong Gong to really navigate this and to really move into a very, very high level, which is accepting what is without feeling the need to change it. And that was not the way that the world was through most of history. It was more of the lower expressions of the Pluto control and domination. These are very high ways of being in the world. And I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about those outer planets as the years go on.
Wow, that was powerful. I really enjoyed that. And the way that you described everything. And, I love the concept of the shadow side or the lower expression and then the highest expression. And of course, there's this, spectrum in between. And it's not like, just like with ascension, it's not like you reach a level and then you're there forever. There's this back and forth kind of thing. So you could see how, okay, so this is affecting me this way. And, and then you can work with it. Like, how can I step into or take the challenge of allowing myself to be in those higher aspects of any given planet or situation. So thank you for sharing that. That was really interesting.
And it gets really interesting when we start to put all those players together, right? Because what I just did is I read the cast of characters and the range of possibilities. But what we do when we read a chart is we start to write the script. You write the script and we start to help you understand what is unfolding and how you could go, wait, hang on. You don't have to have that Mars act like that. Mars could, what if you did this? What if you thought about it like this? So this is the astrologer as kind of a therapist, kind of a spiritual guide.
Wow. Yes. The astrologer as the spiritual guide. I like that. And yeah, it's true. And, it also reminds me of way back, I used to do psychic readings for people. And, like you said, people would come in and be like, oh, another psychic told me all these horrible things, like I'm cursed and, all these things. And I'd be like, well, I am not that kind of psychic. I always read for possibility. I mean, if there's something that you need to be warned about or whatever, I will share that, but I'm not going to look at the worst possible thing and give you information from there. I'm going to read for possibility and for what's possible for you to evolve, to ascend. And it's the same thing that you're saying with an astrologer. They can tell you, oh yeah, you have all these, what do you call negative influences, and you're just going to be at effect of that for your life. Or what you shared is that, yeah, there are these different influences and here's the challenge and here's what you can do to evolve through that. Much more possibility is there. And I love that.
Yeah, if we didn't look at charts that way, if we didn't look at life that way, what would be the point? Why would we even go on if we just thought it's just going to be another 40 years of this kind of torture? That wouldn't be very nice. And I can't believe that God or the divine would set it up that way. There always has to be something to reach for. It's like in a yoga class. Let's say you've never done yoga before, but that you just sense it would be really good for you. And you show up on the first day and you have this beautiful teacher who's just can do these wonderful things with her body. She's not showing off. She's just showing you what you could do. So you get on your mat and you can't even do a push-up, or you can't even go into upward dog, and you can't do these things. Do you just walk away? You say, that's it, yoga's not for me. Or do you say, I'm going to do little things and I'm just going to do things until I get them. And then that's going to give me the confidence to move into the next level. And it's the exact same thing with soul growth, especially as we see it through the chart. Chart, again, it's just like an MRI to give us some feedback. Doctor, you wouldn't go to a doctor and say, fix me. The doctor would say, well, let's see what might be out of balance. Let's see what we can do for you. And then she would order some scans. And then you would look at the scans and you might look at the blood work and you might see what's being not told is wrong, suggested. And then you work together to figure out, well, maybe if I change the way I eat, maybe if I change the way I react to my mother, maybe if I change the assumptions I make about people I don't know. And we just start to play with it. Trial and error. We're just always testing things, aren't we? And but what it takes after that awareness is the willingness to try, the willingness to be a little vulnerable, even to maybe embarrass ourselves or not be excellent, or that horrible word, the P word, perfect at something, but just try it and see what happens. And then just keep trying it, because it's not enough to have a vision, and it's not enough to have awareness, and it's not even enough to be willing. That gets you to the gate, and you got to go through it, and you got to keep going. You don't take one step and say, where's enlightenment? I was told it's on the other side. It is, but it's a journey, and it's not even really a destination. It's more like an aspiration. And we just keep moving in that direction. And this is also balancing this has to be faith. You have to believe that you're on a very sacred journey. This is not random. These are not coincidences. The close people in your life are not random. There really is meaning. And we might not be able to like put it all together, like when you watch a movie and go, oh, I get what that was. It might not be that obvious because this is in the language of the soul. This isn't quite in English or French or, right? This is soul language where we start to just feel, yeah, that feels right. This feels good. This feels better. And when we're living with less anger, less resentment, less competition, more love, more, we wake up in the morning and that meditation you did, just that expanding joy. When we can tap into that at will, or practically at will, that's our feedback that we're doing the right thing. And it's really that simple.
Beautiful, beautifully shared and explained. Thank you, Suzanne. Well, time flies when you're having fun, and we are at the end of our time, actually a little over, I think. So I want to make sure everyone knows about your gift that you're offering. Could you share about your free gift?
Absolutely. It's really going to be a deeper delve into the things that we were talking about here. How to I'm calling it how to raise your astrological vibration. And again, it's awareness. And I will talk you through some of the different signs, and you'll find your own planets. We'll make sure you know how to get your own chart for free if you don't already have it. And it will help you understand that kind of high-low, if you will. I'm saying that in quotes, the shadow and the aspirational side to all of the signs, because everything's in the signs, and that's going to help you. That'll be your starting point. And then people can also sign up for my newsletter. By signing up for the gift, they'll automatically get it, or they can go to my website, which I think is on my speaker page, right? It's starsandstoneshealing.com.
Starsandstoneshealing.com.
Yeah, and they can get the newsletter. I also teach classes. I have a new one starting up in the fall where I'll be offering another beginner astrology class in a kind of traditional model, but also looking at it the way we looked at it today with this more activating, waking up evolutionary astrology. I want to call it quantum astrology, but apparently someone else has beaten me to the punch. But that's the way I want to teach it. It'll be a short and sweet course where we really learn how to work with the planets with that, like as potentials, and also to do certain exercises each week that'll help activate those parts of ourselves, and that can be homework if we're motivated. I can't go into people's homes and have them study or do this work, but when people are really motivated, they do this work, and when we do the work, we really become the goal. It's not just about finding love. And I know you know this because this is who you are, Washayla. We don't just find love, we are love. And that's really the goal.
Beautiful. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Suzanne. This has just been a wonderful learning experience for me, and I imagine for everyone watching or listening. We will end there, but I want to say thank you so much. I so appreciate having you here. And to everyone else, thank you. Let us know what you think. Tune into the Facebook page and share, and we'll be sure to post. I'll post in the show notes where you can get your chart done for free, and then you could even follow along. So with that, we'll close. Have a wonderful day or evening, everyone, and namaste.